you see things and you say, why? But I dream things that never were. And I say, why not?
Ah.
It's on the bottom of my cap.
Now I want to know what's on my
by
cap.
G.B. Shaw. That is a quote from G.B. Shaw. I don't know who G.B. Shaw was.
I'm like, this print is too little. I can't read this. I got the same thing.
All right. Well, there you have it.
Was it Snapple bottles that did that? And they had something at the bottom.
Snapple.
Yes. Was it Snapple that did that?
I think it was. Was this Snapple?
Oh, you weren't going to introduce me? I'll just talk.
Well, we'll introduce
we'll
you, but we're
introduce
just talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Snapple. I haven't thought of that in a long time. French.
Is that stuff still around?
Like iced tea, Snapple iced tea. But there used to be the soda. Like
Snapple had a soda?
Yeah. And a matter of fact, we can just get right into it because I used to get French cherry Snapple soda, a tin of cheese balls, and I used to watch the Headbangers Ball.
Hell yeah.
That was my Saturday.
That's great.
That with no life. Sometimes I had to switch between that and Glow. Gorgeous ladies of wrestling, but Snapple definitely used to have soda.
Awesome. Very cool. Tremendous. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, by the way, everybody, Sean Gorman.
He's been on our show before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Returning guest.
Yes.
Was this the fourth time?
Fourth, maybe. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's good.
Well, you're always welcome here. And when we say that, we mean it.
Yeah. I'm going to take you up on it because, live free or die.
Fuck yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So actually, before we get into talking about it, you've got your own podcast now.
I do. Yeah. The Post Empire podcast. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be, especially because I'm a perfectionist and, I wanted it to be produced and I wanted to do the monologue and everything like that. It's hard to get people on. Nobody wants to come on podcasts, which was surprising to me.
Really?
Yeah.
You had a hard time getting guests?
Yeah.
Wow. That is surprising. Actually.
Yeah. Julian said the same thing about his podcast,
really?
Yeah. Truth, Justice, and the New England Wrestling Podcast, which was definitely the best wrestling podcast for New England out there.
Yeah.
Julian's.
Yeah. They definitely.
We were on there, actually. We were guests on their show and they were guests on ours.
Yeah.
We did like a little swap.
Because he wasn't afraid to ask like tough questions.
Yeah. He'd ask like the stuff that people want to know.
Exactly. Right.
Not like just like, here's a softball question.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about your favorite match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he said the same thing. He was like, it was impossible to get people to come on.
And I bet you for his show, probably because
of that
reason.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to actually answer honestly.
Tough questions. Right.
And tough questions. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I felt like when we went on, it was like, we don't care. We'll say whatever. We'll be honest. And
well,
then,
we're out of the business.
Yeah.
Also.
But then it was like, we had nothing.
Well, yeah, for me, I never really had any issues with anybody. So I wasn't going to bury anybody because why?
Yeah.
So I didn't have any personal issues with anybody. So it didn't really matter to me.
But anyway. I think they wanted me to bury people. I'm like, if you had asked me like 15 years ago, I would have.
Yeah.
But at this point in my life, they're losers. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah.
Fair the bitterness has left the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were talking about the Headbangers Ball before. And really the reason we asked you to come on the show is because we're going to talk about Metallica.
I'm always for that.
Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely.
And you were actually on another podcast that is all about Metallica as a guest.
I'll give them a shout out because they do
this over.
They do a phenomenal job with that podcast.
Do. That podcast is really good.
Yeah. It's called Metal Up Your Podcast, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
It's two musicians, professional touring musicians, Clint and Ethan, and they're country musicians, but they freaking love Metallica. But they make their living actually as musicians, which is not easy, I'm sure, in 2021. But they're based out of Nashville, and they really love Metallica. Obviously, Clint is really into horror movies, and Ethan is really into pro wrestling.
So awesome.
And so I actually went down. They had a podcast party. They have a yearly podcast party, and my girlfriend and I went down to Nashville, and obviously we did the sites and everything. We met them. They were totally cool, and it was like I have known them my whole life, because we're just all into the same shit.
That's awesome.
So I get, actually listening to that podcast made me realize I thought I was a diehard Metallica fan, but I met those guys and I met other people who listened to that podcast, and I realized I'm a fucking total poser. Because I was meeting people, they got like rooms dedicated to Metallica.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They have the black ticket. You know about that?
No.
I don't know.
I guess I'm a poser too.
We totally are. We shouldn't even be doing this podcast, but the Black Ticket, I don't know when they introduced it, maybe in the early 2000s, but it was like $10,000 or something like that. But the thing is, it gives you the best seats to any Metallica show you want to go to anywhere in the world for the rest of your life.
Does it also pay for the airfare?
No.
Oh,
that's not a bad deal.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, right.
If you're gonna go to all,
if you
all
have
the
chump
shows.
change laying around.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, some people follow them like the dead. Metallica.
Wow.
You know, they're at that point now.
That's
where people
awesome.
just go to every single show. Jim
Wow.
Brewer talked about it because he opened for them.
Yeah.
On the last tour, and he got to meet like all these Black Ticket holders, and
wow.
Yeah, he talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the first time I heard of the
Yeah,
Black
right.
Ticket.
Yeah,
That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Holy
like,
shit.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But he was saying it's just like, it's the nicest group of people. And I actually said this on my appearance on Metal Up Your podcast. It's just like when you go to a concert, like the two nicest, crowds you can ever go to is Dave Matthews Band and Metallica. Everyone's just super chill. Like, you want some beer? Is there any barbecue sauce? Yeah, right here. Hey, you want to drink some whiskey? You got weed? Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's just a very communal, chill vibe.
I've never been a Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing them live because I like them. Actually, I was listening to your podcast earlier today, and I paused it, and I came out and I told Monique, I said, I feel the exact same way that Sean does about the Dave Matthews Band. And it was not Ants Marching. Sorry. It was
Don't Drink the Water.
I heard that song and went, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Holy shit. If you look on my phone, I have like 30 different versions of that live, from them live.
Yeah.
And I love that fucking song.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of made me kind of open up a little bit more. And then Steve would always play them. So I was like,
oh, really?
All right. Yeah. So then I started kind of getting into them a little, not crazy into them, but I didn't mind listening when after I heard that song, I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And that was the song that made me turn the corner. But before that, it was exactly what you said. It was co-ed naked shirt. Yeah. Fuck you, Dave Matthews. That was my last 2 years of high school. Couldn't fucking stand it.
Right.
That was the soundtrack, like you were saying in your show.
Guys playing
if you're our age, we're the same age.
Yeah. Yep.
If you went to high school in the mid 90s, you were listening to Dave Matthews everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking hate Dave Matthews Band.
I know. I tried to play you one of their songs. I'm like, I think you might like this one. You're like, fuck it. I'm like, okay.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
And it's not like I try to be open-minded, but I listen to it and I'm just like, I don't like it.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just being honest. Not going to pretend to like something I don't, just to fit into conversation.
Fair.
It was really seeing them live. And you hear that a lot, like with Dave Matthews, like actually, and same with Metallica, the parallels too. Like you may be like kind of on the fence about them or even not like them, but you see them live, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Actually, I was
Yeah.
kind of like that about Godsmack because I really,
God.
well, no. I didn't fucking care about them, like whatever, but I saw them live and I'm like, oh shit, they're not that bad. I didn't care to listen to them again afterwards, but while at the concert, I thought they were enjoyable.
They're not bad. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
You specifically about Godsmack?
Okay.
Because I know that you were really into local music, like in the 90s.
Because Sully's from Lowell.
Right.
Or
Now,
Pelham or
here's
something.
the thing. Do you ever remember them playing a local venue before they got big? Me neither. I think it's a work. I don't think they're really from Boston.
I don't know if their bass player, when I used to, at my other job, I actually was in the bass player's house.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to do help him out with his internet or something like that. And he had all this Godsmack, like his gold records or whatever all over the wall.
Yeah.
I'm like, who the fuck is this
Alex
guy?
is like, hey, you really like that band, huh?
Like I didn't know who he was. I didn't have a fuck clue. I heard a Sully, but he could walk into the room and I wouldn't know who he is.
Yeah.
But I got to, shooting the shit with him, and another guy that I was with knew who he was. He's like, you know who that is? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Who was it? And he told me, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
and I give a fuck why.
I don't care. Like, I don't like Godsmack, so whatever. The guy was nice enough. The guy was cool, but yes, I think they are from here only because I had that interaction and was in this guy's house.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I don't know.
But I don't know anyone who was seeing local music at that time. And I know people were like way more into local Boston scene than I was. And they all say the same thing. I don't remember ever seeing them play.
I'd never heard of them.
What year?
Until they were on the radio.
Playing local music, because if it
would have been like in the late 90s, like 97, 98.
Oh yeah, I was going to shows.
Right. So was I.
Them.
Me neither.
I mean, I started
and then all
going
of a
to
sudden
shows
they
in
just
like
blew up huge.
Interesting.
93, 94.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were maybe like one of
yeah.
those like bands that a studio kind of just put together and said, here, tour.
Like
or
New
something.
Kids on the Block.
Oh.
I just bought tickets for them yesterday.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Well, you know who's opening is En Vogue.
Oh,
I'm the most excited to see them.
En Vogue's
they were awesome.
They were awesome. Back in the day.
I really like En Vogue.
Free your mind, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And Salt and Pepper is opening. Yeah.
Tremendous.
Oh my God. I know all the words to Shoot and many other Salt and Pepper songs.
And Rick Astley. I don't care about that.
Never gonna give you.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
But I'm fuck it. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to New Kids. I don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit about New Kids, but everyone else, like, I want to go to this show.
Yeah, I'm more excited for the undercard, honestly.
I'll fucking leave before New Kids get on.
Yeah.
En Vogue. That's great.
Just to see like En Vogue and Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
People listen to us now are like, what's wrong with these people?
We're talking about Metallica today too.
Yeah.
So
good music is good music. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like now, what is good music? What's new good music that's come out? Can you think of anything?
I don't.
That's like on the level of music, like how music was when we were. See, I think we're like the first generation.
Yeah.
That can say our music was better than what's out now. You know how like every generation has,
yeah.
I think we can honestly say that because what's out now that's better than what we had?
Nothing, but I will say, I think the previous generation, I think their music was actually better than ours. I think it's gotten progressive. I mean, dude, the 70s, Zeppelin, Aerosmith, the Stones, Fleetwood Mac, Elton John. I mean, that's those songs still hold up.
No, they do. But I mean, I even think about music from like the 50s and 60s and so much soul in a lot of what was sung and played.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what's interesting, because you mentioned the 50s, and it's almost like we've gone backwards, because in the 50s, it was just about the single. Nobody cared about albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the Ronettes, you know, Be My Baby and all that.
Yeah.
So it was just the single. Right. Now we've gone back. Nobody cares about albums anymore. It's all about the singles again.
Yeah. You're
so
right.
It's almost come full circle.
Yeah.
You know, the concept of an album from the 60s until really the early 2000s is like dead, you know, because it was a big deal. You got that whole album, you looked at the artwork, you read the lyrics, you know, you got really invested in it, and that's gone now. You know, kids don't have that.
Yeah.
Which I think is really sad.
It really does suck. I mean, I remember one of my favorite things when you'd get a new CD or a cassette was opening up that insert and looking at the lyrics, and, you know, because when I would hear a song for the first time, and if I liked it, and obviously, you know, you listen to it a million times.
Yeah.
When I first started listening to music, it was cassette tapes.
Right. Which were the worst.
Absolute worst. Having to rewind this, you know, whatever. And trying to figure out what the singer was saying a lot of times, like listening to Motley Crue, for example.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what Vince Neil was saying half the time was like,
because we didn't have the internet to tell us.
What's he saying? What's he saying? So I couldn't wait to open up the cassette and look at the lyrics and look at the pictures and look at the thank you to these people and these people and this, all that shit that was in there. And now it's like, yeah, you're right.
Your relationship to music, I think, is very different when you don't have a tangible physical relationship to it. You know, I understand. Listen, I subscribe to Amazon Music. I love it, you know, because actually I listen to it in my living room and they scroll the lyrics on the TV.
Oh, no shit.
So it's almost like the old days, you know what I mean? And I really enjoy that. And I have every song ever. But, you know, when it's a physical and you had to pay for it, you're invested in it, you know, even if you thought you first listened to the album, like, well, it's okay. Well, God damn it, I'm just going to keep listening to this because I freaking paid for it. Yeah. You know, but actually speaking of it, Hetfield told this really like heartwarming story. He has a daughter and I don't know how old she was, maybe 6 or 7 or whatever. And he's just like, okay, this is a vinyl record. And she's like, okay. And he was in the other room and he's listening. He can hear her playing the record and then the music stops and like a few minutes goes by and the music starts again. And she comes running in. She goes, Dad, guess what? He's like, what? And she goes, there's music on the other side. Like she figured out, like she didn't even know that there was music on the B side of the.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
You know, and he said, he's like, my kids are like really into vinyl, you know, and it's not because I forced it on them. They just like, this is cool. Like you have to take the needle and, you know, you have to think, you know, you sit and think about the music, you know, it's not just background music when you're doing the laundry or whatever, which I think a lot of young people, that's what music is to them.
Yeah. I think a lot of everything, even podcasts, is just background for a lot of people as they're doing something else.
That's what it is for me.
Yeah.
I'm always doing something, but I got a podcast on.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, I don't know what that says about people or
because
how society's
we multitask
gone
so much. We can't just say, I'm going to sit and listen to a record tonight and just enjoy it. It's like, I have to do X, Y, and Z. And while I do it, I'll listen to this. It's no longer about just being able to take the time and just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend Morgan thinks she's younger than I am. And she told her friends too. She goes, did you know Sean just sits in his living room and listens to music? And they're like, well, what's he doing? No, he just sits on the couch and just listens to music and like thinks about it. And they're like, that's so weird. And I'm like, that's what.
How is that weird?
Like that's because they never did that.
They never had to do
They never did that, or you not had to. But like, I like to I think about that. I'm a big lyrics guy, obviously. Like Metallica, by the way, has some of the best lyrics ever.
Yes.
And I like to sit and think about the lyrics and the song "Sweet Emotion," for example. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. I always thought it was ice in a glass, but the beginning, that tantric like doom 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 doom. Well, you hear this like something break, well, it's not maracas, but it's something like that. And Steven Tyler talked about like when they were recording it, the instrument broke, but they just left it in the recording, and it's shit like that. Like Led Zeppelin, you can hear the squeak of the drum pedal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like shit like that. You know what I mean? That's like, I hate to say this, but it makes it fucking real, man.
Well, I think it makes it unique.
Yeah, they like leave the mistakes in. Yeah.
Speaking of listening, like actually like listening to music and listening to the lyrics. So the other weekend, I was driving to my parents and I put in Metallica, the Black Album, and our kids are in the back seat and they're freaking rocking out, headbanging to it, enjoying it. It was awesome. But I'm listening to the songs. I'm listening to like Wherever I May Roam. And I'm like,
so good.
Oh my God. So it's like, and the earth becomes my throne. I'm like, fuck.
So good.
That's like the Emperor and the Empress card in tarot. And I'm just like going all these places with it. And like Through the Never and all these songs. And I'm like, I need to make a hypnosis induction inspired by Metallica. And so I was like, I came home that night and I started like writing, just thinking about Metallica and the lyrics and listening to it. I start writing what was supposed to be an induction. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is not an induction, but it actually turned out to be something totally different and cool. It's like a script to basically like help people who have a lot going on, help them get to where they need to be. But like with what I'm saying, if you listen really carefully, you'll pick up the Metallica influences in it. And I even questioned talking about it during this episode because I'm like, am I going to scare clients away being like, oh, you're a very serious hypnotherapist inspired by Metallica? But it's like the Metallica fans might be like, fuck yeah.
Let's do some fucking meditation.
Do you like to meditate? Yeah. Give me a hell yeah.
So yeah, can you believe it? 30 years, the Blackout? Because to me, that's like a newer album. Still.
That's insane to me.
When did you start listening? Was it?
I started listening to them in Justice.
Me too.
I had heard of them. And I remember seeing this kid's name, Jason Sweet, had a Metallica jean jacket with a huge Metallica patch on the back.
I have a good story about that.
Yes. And I was in 6th grade and I remember seeing it and being like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? And he used to wear like Metallica t-shirts. And I always thought, because I saw like the metal up your ass and all, and I'm like, what is this? And like there'd be like skulls and whatever other t-shirts. I'm like, oh, they must be one of those satanic bands. I probably can't listen to them. And then I saw the music video for One.
Our trajectory is exactly the same.
And I went, what? Who are these guys?
Right.
What is this? This is awesome.
And then I got the CD. Yes, One, the video.
Yeah. That was it. Like Injustice. And then I picked up obviously Master Puppets, Kill 'Em All, Ride and Lightning, and I was hooked.
Yeah, me too.
Holy shit, these guys are awesome.
They're amazing.
I
How
was,
did it take me so long
7 or
to find
8?
these guys?
I think when Injustice for All came out, was it 87 or 88?
89.
89. Okay, so I was like 8.
80. Was it 89?
It was 88.
88. Okay.
So I was like 8 years old. Yeah, I remember I saw the one video, and like my brother, he was into Metallica, and I'm watching this video, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I like this.
Well,
like,
it stood out from everything else on MTV at that time.
Yep.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
But there was something about
Still
the
their
way
best video.
it made me feel listening to it. Like I live in my heart center, and as a child, like listening to that music just in my heart center, like it felt like I felt it. And I was just like,
because the end is like a heartbeat, like
but no, it was something, it was like listening to the lyrics and the music and just the way it was composed and put together. And then watching the video too from Johnny Got His Gun. And, just, I was like, yes, I like this band.
Yeah.
And I would like more, please.
Yeah. To this day, and for if there's any like younger listeners right now, like it's hard to this day, like when I hear Enter Sandman, like at a Patriots game between plays, it's still weird to me because it was such outsider music.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, like, the people who listen to Metallica, like in my school, there weren't many of them. It was like 8 guys, no girls. It was like 8 guys, and they were like really good in wood shop, and they like huffed WD-40 in the woods. Like there's just those were the people who listened to Metallica like that, and it did not make you cool, and it, like you said, there was the bad kids. They were like, I was in 6th grade, they were in 8th, and I was walking out of school one day, and the kid had a black and white Stonewatch jean jacket with the green Metallica logo on the back, and they were behind me, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, faggot." I'm like, jeez. Here we go. Yeah. And all of a sudden these loogies start flying over my fucking head, and those were the Metallica fans. They were like fucking with. They were like clearly the bad kids.
Yeah.
And then it was on Dial MTV with Adam Curry.
Yes,
the guy with the puffy hair, because that's how it got huge. Because people were just like, I want to see that again.
Yep.
And it was just like coming up, Cherry Pie from Warrant. Yep. Lay Your Hands on Me, Bon Jovi, and One Bite, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, what is this?
It was different, and I feel like listening to like bands like Metallica and Megadeth, it's like they're so fucking punk rock when you think about what was going on at that time, aside from punk rock itself. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm just like, dude, they're punk as fuck.
And maybe we can get into this now.
Get into it.
This whole sellout thing. I could make an argument. Not only are they not sellouts, they're the complete opposite of sellouts. Because here's the thing. You ask people, when did Metallica sell out? They're going to either say the Black Album or Load, right?
Yeah.
But they were called sellouts since Ride the Lightning. Why? Because of Fade to Black.
Really?
Because in the thrash Bay Area scene, you didn't do ballads. That was a big no-no. So as soon as Cliff Burton talks about it in an interview, just like, we've been called sellouts since almost day one, and the Black Album came about because Justice was so technically complicated. They were fucking up the songs live. And when they do the interviews, they're like, oh, you made it friendly for radio. Just like, no, we did that for ourselves. Because we're like, guys, we're not going to make 20-minute songs.
Yeah.
We got to go the other way.
Yeah.
We're going to make shorter songs, keep it tight. Load, I'll go on record right now. I fucking love Load.
I love Load. The Outlaw Torn.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Fucking one of my favorite songs.
Dude, there's not a I think those are 2 of their best albums.
Yeah.
And speaking of being punk, you opened it up, they cut their hair, they're wearing makeup, because Lars kind of took the reins. I kind of love that they did that. I love that they pissed off the metalheads.
Oh yeah, they pissed off everybody.
Yeah, I loved it.
But I saw them live like 3 times during that tour.
Me too, yeah.
Because it was fucking awesome. I'm like, it's fucking Metallica. They still kick ass.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So how many times have you guys seen Metallica live?
I can't count. I don't
probably 10 to 12.
I haven't seen them 10 times, less than 10, but more than, I've seen them like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah. I've also traveled because I went to Woodstock 99. It's the only band I would ever travel for. I guess the Reverend Horton Heat, I traveled to see them too. But yeah, I went to the Woodstock 99, I went to the Big Four.
And you talk about that on your podcast. It's a really good episode, so check it out.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
What, the Woodstock one?
Yeah.
Woodstock 99.
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
We'll talk about that.
Proceed.
But Yeah, the big four at Yankee Stadium was really good. Anthrax, Megadeth, and Slayer.
Oh, that must have been awesome. That must have been sick.
Yes, it was.
Jeez.
Yeah. So yeah.
When was the first time you saw them? Do you remember?
Guns N' Roses and Metallica.
You were at that show.
Yes.
Did you see Faith No More?
Yes. I wasn't a huge fan at the time.
Oh man.
And Fraser was way more into them. And I asked him, I think on our podcast, he was like, yeah, they were great. I'm like, okay, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I
couldn't go to that.
No, my friend asked me. I said, yeah, I'd love to go. He told me what were tickets, like $100?
No,
$75, something like that.
I wish I had looked before. If I had known you were going to ask me, I would have looked at my scrapbook. No, I mean, I think they were like 50, honestly.
Were they 50?
Well, I mean, I was not on the field. I had good seats though. I mean, I was pretty near the stage up in the stands. They were like 50, but again, back then for a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I was a kid. I didn't have a job. So it was like, I don't think I'll be able to get the money to go. So I didn't go. My friend went and he said it was awesome, but I didn't get to go to that show.
Yeah.
The first time I didn't see them, but I was outside of Arms Park in Manchester during the And Justice tour when they came to town.
Oh, wow.
And I listened.
Yeah.
But I didn't see, but I listened to them and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're on the outside, so you're not hearing it as well as being right there with the speakers, aimed at you and everything, but it sounded fucking awesome. And the crowd was insane.
Yeah.
Like you could just hear them, like how crazy they were going.
Yeah.
So, but the first time I saw them live was during the Load tour.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even see them during the Black tour.
Yeah.
I didn't see them until they were out touring for Load. So,
the Guns N' Roses Metallica show was September 11th, 1993. A day in American history. That date meant nothing. But, I benefited because my parents they didn't read newspapers. They didn't watch the news because they didn't know that there had already been 2 fucking riots on that tour.
Oh, wow.
By the time it got here, because there was one in Montreal where Axl had a tantrum.
What was that about? Because I know, Hetfield, obviously that's when he got caught in the pyro.
Blown up. Yeah.
And so Metallica had to cut their set short.
Right. So they were just like figuring like, well, cool. Guns N' Roses guys, do us a favor. Just go play 3-4 hours,
Yeah.
Night's yours. And friggin' Axl, like the monitors weren't working or some shit. And he was just like, fuck this. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Was it like 2 songs in or something ridiculous?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then there was the other one. The other riot happened in St. Louis because someone was taking pictures of him during Rocket Queen and he jumped out into the crowd. So there are already 2 riots on that tour. My parents they would not have let me go. And there was almost one because Guns N' Roses went on late. Metallica blew them off the stage, by the way. They destroyed. Like, it was just not even close. And Slash talks about that in his book. He was just like, I was embarrassed because we were a wreck on that tour and they were like a fine oiled machine. And they would just go kick ass, drink a 6-pack and just leave. And meanwhile, we're all fucked up on drugs. Is Axl going to show up? So Guns N' Roses went on late. And Fraser, we talked about this on our podcast, but this is why they don't do this anymore. They were giving out these commemorative mugs that were like thick, like essentially a thermos. This you collect, so Metallica's not coming out. People are getting pissed and people just started whipping them. And it looked cool for about 2 minutes. Like, because the whole stadium was like a popcorn machine with these blue things. But they hurt. Like when you took one to the head, it hurt. And the kid in front of me was wearing a powder blue sweater. It was kind of chilly and it clipped his ear and all this blood just started flying out of his, draining out of his ear. And I was just like, I was 14, dude. I was just like, I need an adult. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, I need an adult. Like, because I'm just like, there's already been 2 riots on this tour. I'm not ready. And a guy offered Fraser heroin.
Yeah.
We're just like nuts. I think kids are really sheltered now. Just to think that we were 14, just barely 14 too, just thrown into that environment.
I think crazy. I was like maybe 12 or 13 and I saw AC/DC at the Garden.
Yeah.
And I was by myself with friends.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we
took the train.
Had to get driven there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like 12 or 13. And I was just with a group of friends at AC/DC at the Garden. The
first ever concert I went to, I was 9 years old, and I went in there with my 12-year-old cousin who was visiting from Greece, and it was just her and I. It was Huey Lewis and the News, but still, like, we're just kids alone, just us 2 dropped off, and we were, that fuck. I would never let my kids do that nowadays. Like, are you kidding me?
The funny thing is, the world is actually safer now.
I know, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's so crazy to think that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is. It's so much safer now.
Yeah.
Geez.
Going to a concert's like TSA bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
whatever. Yeah. Well, yeah, but he's right. You're going to get patted down. There's going to be security everywhere. Everyone's got a phone. So everybody's afraid to do something because you're going to get,
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
But it was the Wild West back then.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit.
But what was the first time you saw Metallica?
Never.
Oh, okay.
She never has.
I've never seen Metallica.
It's quite an experience.
I've never had the
Really
opportunity. And like, I've always wanted to see them. I just never had the opportunity to go see them.
I just remember at the GNR, like when I was like really like, they opened with Creeping Death.
That's awesome.
And I just remember, I mean, let's fucking go, And I just remember seeing Hetfield out on the Ego ramp and just 50,000 people just doing the die, pounding their fist to the die chants. And at the Big Four at Yankee Stadium, when that started, I was just like, I'm not even going to get on my phone because I have the image. I'm thinking of it right now. I turned my back to the stage and because I was on the field right in front of the stage, I looked and just the sight of 50,000 people in Yankee Stadium just doing that die chant.
Awesome.
It's just fucking awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The weather was perfect that night too.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the thing. You got to see them outside. I feel like Metallica is like an outdoor band because what happens is like they go on just as the sun is setting and you hear that Morricone music from Big Bad Ecstasy of Gold. So and like just as the sun is setting, it is. It's like a religious experience.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. See, I never got to see him outside. Every time I've seen him has been indoors.
Oh, that's too bad.
Every single time.
You got to see him at Gillette. That's the deal. I'm a fan club member. I'm a legacy member because I've been in like they made it so like, oh, everyone's a fan club member now, but they did a special thing for the people who've been fan club members because you used to have to pay like $75 a year. You get like a magazine and everything like that.
Sure.
And so I get first dibs on tickets. So I'll let you guys know next time they come around.
Next time.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes,
and they're really good to their fans because like they put you right down front.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
So we'll do that.
Oh yeah.
You finally
great.
I would really appreciate
stop being a poser.
Yeah. Come on.
I'm not a fucking poser.
No, I know you're not. We all know you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably the most fun I've had at a concert. Like just
I would believe it.
So fucking good live.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Woodstock 99, like as I said, in the Metallica community, it's considered their best live performance ever. And we walked away that night. We're just like, okay, yeah, Metallica. I mean, they were essentially headlining because the second night, last slot is really headlining Woodstock.
Yeah.
People think it's like the Red Hot Chili Peppers because they played last on Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's really Saturday night.
Yeah. Because I mean, because you figure you're going to have people that are going to leave after Saturday and all that. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they knew, it was on pay-per-view. Like literally the whole world was watching this.
Yep.
We're headlining. We're fucking bringing it. And they did.
Oh yeah. They were fucking awesome. Yeah. We just watched it before you got here tonight. We watched it and I was like, yeah.
And I don't know if you caught it, but during one, it was 105 degrees.
It started raining.
It started raining just during one.
Yeah.
Wind started whipping and then one got over and it just stopped.
So crazy.
And I was just like, there might be a God. There might be, if that might be a thing.
Metallica is like manifesting through their music. They're like
so great.
bringing the weather change about.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Now, you were at Woodstock 99.
I survived.
You survived it.
I got sexually assaulted.
Yeah, tell that story. You told it on your podcast, but if you want to tell it again, please.
But you put in the sad music.
Yeah.
I really was, though. I mean, technically speaking, you can tell I'm not torn up about it. But actually, it speaks to like, some of the bad shit that was going on there because I was watching Dave Matthews Band. And I noticed there's like this jostling, like, the people in front of me and guys are kind of like getting, moved aside. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And there was two chicks and and I would love to meet this girl now because I would love to ask her why she did this. It was a short girl, red hair, dreadlocks, wearing a white tank top. And she was like, excuse me. And she came over and she grabbed my balls and twisted them so fucking hard that only a guy can understand. It's like that dull feeling you get in the pit of your stomach, like I didn't go down, but I definitely bent over. I was like, fuck. you know, and my buddy Brown was like, what the hell just happened? I'm like, no, that fucking girl just grabbed me by the balls, like really fucking hard. And then the guy in back of me was just like, she just did that to me. And the guy in front of me was like, she did that to me too. We're
me
like,
too.
Yeah, hashtag me too. Like,
wow.
And actually, I didn't mention this on my podcast, but I should have, because there was a girl who I didn't know standing next to me. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And this girl was just like, yeah, we've been hearing like the dude bros down front are getting really handsy with the girls. And I was just like, okay, well, what's that got to do with me? Like, you know? And then my friend Lisa was like, she really needed to go to the bathroom. I mean, it was definitely one or the other.
Hearing the story, I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if like somebody did something to her and she was like, fuck everyone.
Maybe, you know, and that was the first I'd heard of that. But the thing is like, you know, that the HBO documentary tried to paint it like it was fucking Vietnam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not that. Like it like,
and I said that to you when we were watching it. I said, this is so like one-sided.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This is so,
like we were like, this is to get people riled.
This
up.
is to get people. Yeah, exactly.
Pushing a narrative.
You're pushing every possible narrative.
Yeah.
You're pushing race. You're pushing sex.
Yeah.
Like every possible narrative you can push, they found it and pushed it here.
Yeah. And you know, I was watching I have the DVD of Woodstock, and I was watching it with my girlfriend Morgan, and she was seeing naked girls crowd surfing, and Morgan's just like, I hope these girls weren't saying they were sexually assaulted, because guess what, if you're going to crowd surf naked, your shit is going to get grabbed. And almost it's like par for the course, like for it to physically, like physics, like your tits are going to get touched.
How can you expect that not to happen?
Right.
But if you're just standing there in the crowd and some dude goes up and
that's
grabs your
story.
tits or grabs your pussy, that's different.
Right. And that was happening. But the thing is like, and I remember there was some chatter about it, like, you know, at the campsite where we were, but it was like, it was only happening down front.
Okay.
So like, you know, and look, again, it's not cool or anything like that. But as far as the environment of Woodstock 99 went, it was almost like a city with a bad neighborhood you just knew to avoid. Because over time, chicks were like, don't go down front, you know? So that was the reality of it.
Gotcha.
You know, and the other thing too is like, they were just like, oh, the conditions were so fucking horrible. Well, that footage that they showed with like the, you know, they were wallowing around in the shit and like the pipes are broken. Okay, here's what they left out. There was 4 campsites at that. That was only happening in one spot at one campsite.
Okay.
The rest were fine.
Okay.
And that's what the promoters were saying in that documentary. And they were right. The campsite where we were was great. No problems at all. People were just throwing frisbees, chatting with people from Pennsylvania and all kinds of stuff. It was like actually a really good vibe, you know?
Okay.
And, you know, and then, you know, the riots that, you know, topped the whole thing off.
Yeah.
We had left before that, but we knew the geography and I was seeing it. And we were just like, that was only happening in one specific spot at the main stage. If you felt it was dangerous, you just had to walk away. That's all you had to do. Walk away. The whole thing was 4 square miles.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, the whole place is a bunch of fucking crazy people. The entire place.
No.
Come on.
It was obviously it's a select group of people.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you felt unsafe, you could just walk away.
I figured that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here to clear that up.
Yeah. I was yelling at the TV the whole time, like with Morgan. I'm like, this is fucking bull. Yes, this stuff happened, but they're putting a microscope on the bad shit that happened.
Of course.
And that's exactly what the promoters were saying. You know, he was right. It was like a bunch of knuckleheads fucked it up. And then the guy was like, oh, it's all about white rage. And Fraser was just like, it was metal bands playing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be predominantly white people.
Right.
And we're watching that dickhead from the New York Times talk about like, you know, making it all about race and everything. And I just looked at Morgan. I'm like, oh, I guess he thinks if it was all hip hop groups and it was black people there in that conditions, it would have been better. No, I don't think so. You know,
unbelievable.
Yeah. It's just dumb. Everything's dumb. Yeah. But anyway, so that was Woodstock 99. And the prices thing was like, yeah, like you said, you know, we're at a concert and that only applied to like the concert area. Like as far as your camp, you can bring whatever you wanted.
So they weren't checking you for like food or drink that you brought in with you.
No, not at all. No,
that to me is amazing.
Yeah. Right. I know. I imagine that now, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like, because there was the campsite, you could have whatever you wanted. But yes, when you got to where the music was actually happening, yeah, you had to buy $4 water. I mean, I expected it. I was like, what were you people expecting? Like,
yeah.
Now, I will admit, Morgan, my girlfriend Morgan made a good point. She goes, when the temperatures got that hot, it was the heat index was like 102.
Wow.
She's like, I think they probably should have started giving out some free stuff at that point because people were dropping left and right from heat stroke and dehydration. I think that's a fair point.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say that's definitely fair.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for a 3-day thing.
You're right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, complaining about $4 water. that's kind of,
I mean, yeah. In today's money, it's probably what, $8, right?
Yeah. Which I mean, that's about right. That's what you're paying if you go to a ball game,
exactly.
Right. or a whatever,
Yeah.
So going to see wrestling at the, TD Garden or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying. So I don't know.
But I mean, honestly, it was one of the most fun weekends of my entire life. And I feel weird saying that because it's got this like big black spot on it now, but
yeah,
it was kind of a smudge. Like, when it first happened, like I remember Howard Stern making fun of it. Like, oh, they burnt down Woodstock. Oh, whatever. Like
I remember it not being like a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal at all.
Like it was like, okay.
The documentary made it like the freaking whole place burnt down.
It's bullshit.
Yeah. Cause
it got fucked up pretty bad, but that was only one little area.
Yeah.
But yes, that one little area at the main stage. Yeah. It got fucked up really bad. And the thing was, that's the other thing too. The anger was very directed toward like the vendors. They messed up the trailers and like, the t-shirt places, but people weren't fucking with each other's stuff. Your campsite was totally safe, and secure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the anger was very focused toward fuck these people, that put this on.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's the real story of Woodstock 99. It wasn't that bad.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I figured. It was just funny watching this documentary and just the whole time. That's all I was thinking was, I don't remember it being this bad. I mean, I wasn't there, but I don't remember at the time hearing about it and it being this bad. It was like, okay, there were some fires and it was hot.
And listen, that's why I almost feel bad saying it was one of the best weekends of my life, because listen, for the women who were raped and sexually assaulted, not cool,
of course not.
But honestly, when you put it into perspective, I think there was like, I don't know, like 6 rapes reported over a 3-day weekend in that kind of conditions. It's honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't higher.
I'm surprised it wasn't more. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's all fucked up on drugs and drunk.
And how many people were there?
500,000.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it's a small city.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
And you have people coming from all over. So it's not like it's the local town. It's everybody from everywhere coming in and oh, wow. Yeah, it's insane.
So
I told Alex, I was like, I'm glad I didn't go to that because.
Were you planning?
Well, I heard about it and I'm like, I would like to see Metallica, but I was like, I can't fucking deal with that many people. Like I used to go to Warped Tour and stuff before it, I don't know, got too big for me, I guess. But yeah, I was like telling Alex, like, I'd fucking probably kill somebody because I'd be in the pit. And I was like, if somebody fucking grabbed me, tried to sexually assault me, I think I would lose my shit and fucking like homicide somebody, like just totally lose my shit. But it was, I mean, I feel like it's bullshit. You keep your hands to yourself. And speaking from a female perspective, going to shows and having guys try to touch me, try to grab me. It's like, keep your fucking hands to yourself. Don't fucking touch anybody. I don't fucking go up and try to grab you. Don't fucking do it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's like, if I'm in the pit or something.
It's amazing that needs to be said, but.
If I'm in the pit and fucking arms are getting swung, shit happens. But to actually have somebody come up and fucking like grope your breasts, grab your ass, shit like that. Like,
it's not surprising it was Limp Bizkit fans, honestly, because you know what, if you went into a pit at Anthrax, the guys would probably be looking out for you.
Yeah, but that's how it was. Like when I went to shows, we fucking looked out for each other. It's like, even I remember being like on the outside of the pit and like dudes are coming by and I like, there are other girls like, or even anyone smaller than me. I put my arms out, like you try to protect each other. And that's why I was just like, that's the problem. Like, not to sound like some fucking elitist, like asshole, but like when you're part of that group, and like you're in that scene, you're a community, you look out for each other, you take care of each other. Then you have these people like, I heard your song on the radio and I think you're cool, and then they fucking come in and try to fucking play the part. It's like, what the fuck?
There's no pit etiquette or even show etiquette, you know?
Yeah, like you take care of each other. And you had mentioned before we started recording, just like how, or maybe it was while we were recording, but just the atmosphere of Metallica shows, and everyone is
chill.
Everyone's really chill. It's like a community, and that's how it should be. You're all there for the same reason. Take care of each other.
I think there's something about the music that's kind of bonding. I don't know. It's hard to explain
because you're all in that same vibration.
Yeah.
When you're listening to that music, you're all like in the same energy field.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, is it outsiders? I guess still. I guess Metallica, to some, after all the success that they've had, it's still kind of outsider music.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe thing to say. I mean, everybody knows who they are, but not everybody knows them.
Yeah.
Like, knows them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I think everyone knows Enter Sandman.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah. Enter Sandman. What's the other like?
Nothing else matters. I heard that on the radio on the way up here. Yeah. That's the other thing too. It's like, I feel like Metallica didn't go to the mainstream, but the mainstream came to them.
I think you're right on that.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not like they started releasing, you know, New Kids on the Block, you know, the Black Album. It was just, you know, less complicated. It was still metal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I talked about it on the podcast. You know, I remember like some of our friends were like, fuck it, this sucks. You know, Master of Puppets is better. They were right. Master of Puppets is better. But I mean, I remember Fraser and I, we didn't hate it. We were just like, the old stuff's better, but it's fine.
See,
like,
because I loved the Black Album.
I
love every fucking song on that album.
It's not a bad song on the album.
No, there isn't. I loved the Black Album. And for me, it was like I'd mentioned it in the previous episode that we'd done for us. It's why I wanted, it's when I started playing the drums. It's what I wanted when I wanted to really say, I got to play this. I got to play this music. And it was easier for me to play and learn that music than it was Master of Puppets and just it was just easier. And obviously from there I built up and I could play the other stuff, but that was the one where I was like, oh, it became more attainable to me and more realistic for me to try. And I think that's why that whole album, all those songs have a special meaning to me because of that, because that's when music became something I could do.
Yeah. Right.
You know, for me,
that makes sense. Yeah. The Black Album for me, I mean, it really, I mean, you know, not to get on this nostalgia trip, but I think I talked about this in the
Fuck it. Let's get nostalgic.
The podcast I did, like, it's important, like, because first of all, it was just like, I was actually happy for them that they had achieved this mainstream success, because it's funny to think that like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, they were playing arenas without radio play or MTV. I mean, who can say that anymore?
Yeah.
Almost nobody.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, you go to the Cliff Burton thing. I mean, they had fucking, you know, by the time the Black Album hit, they'd always had like 4 lifetimes as a band.
Yeah.
And I was like, they were my boys, and I was like happy. And in the podcast I talked about, like, so I was like, just, you know, I had my little clique of friends. I was like the bad kid, you know, troublemaker, nerd, whatever. But then this album came out, and all of a sudden the popular kids started like talking to me and like inviting me to parties. And I swear to God, I think it was correlated with like, well, this guy liked the cool thing before it was cool, so maybe he's cool, you know? And I remember seeing pictures of like Hetfield and Hammett hanging out with Cindy Crawford at like the MTV Video Music Awards. And I remember like thinking like, you know, I'm sitting there at like the party talking to like the most popular girl in the school, and, you know, and I'm all decked out in my metal shit, you know what I mean? And I kind of was like, this is trippy. It was really a cultural moment.
Yeah.
You know?
How did you feel though? Were you like pissed, or were you like excited by it?
I was pissed because the dudes who were making fun of me for liking Metallica just a year prior were like, "Oh, we like Enter Sandman." I'm like, "Fuck you, you jock,
and that,
piece of shit.
that happened to me.
Fight me right now in the fucking gymnasium."
Yeah, because I remember hearing you talk about that on your show.
Yeah,
and I was like, the fucking same thing happened to me with fucking punk rock in high school. I mean, I had like guys like fucking Dyke, like. I you know, I would do my makeup. I didn't give a fuck. Like, I'd have fucking crazy fucking makeup and like take eyeshadow and make like blue lipstick out of it, because like I just wanted to do it. And like, they'd be like, that doesn't look good. And like, they'd just be dicks to me. And then like senior year, Dropkick Murphys got really popular. And they're like, oh, you know that band, right? Yep. Yeah, they're really good. And like, then they started being nice to me, and I got pissed too, because I was like, you guys treat me like shit. You like fucking try to bully me. You call me a dyke. You do all this shit. You make fun of me. Oh, and now you're gonna be nice. Like, I'm glad like you finally see you're a moron, but it's like,
but they don't though. But
right.
Yeah. Well, I remember years later, when I was, I think it was while I was bartending or after I had bartended, I was at the bar I used to work at. A kid I went to high school with. He was like, oh, hey, how's it going? All nice and friendly. And I'm looking at him like, you know, you were a real dick to me in high school and junior high. And he's like, because I wasn't putting up with that. I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to play nice. I'm going to call you out on your shit. And he's like, you know what? I was, and I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, that's good.
Like,
that's
okay,
a good thing.
Thank you. Closed. Let's move forward. But that was the thing. It's like, awesome. That's all, you know, like, okay, you
Fresh
realized
start.
it. Yeah, it's cool. But that dude at least had the balls to say, you know what? You're right. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem. Like, yes, I had a problem with the people who were specifically like fucking metalhead. I remember walking to school one day. I was wearing my Aunt Justice for All shirt, and these two older girls. I was 14. They were obviously 16 because they were driving. They were in a car, and they drove by and they're like, "Yeah, Metallica, kill your mother, eat your father, fucking Satan." And it was just like. So like, yes, I was irritated by the guys who specifically were just like, you're a fucking loser. But I guess the popular kids who didn't really pay me any mind, I was okay that they were finally talking to me. Because listen, sure. I had perceptions of them too. Like, you're a snooty, stuck up bitch, you know, but I'm like, oh, actually you're all right. I mean, you're kind of basic, but you're harmless, you know? Like,
yeah. You're not as cool as me.
Oh, definitely not. But
I remember the first time I was invited to a party, and it was just like some random kid invited me to a party. I went to a party. And all these other kids who I didn't really talk to, but I wasn't like, I was never really made fun of, because when my freshman year of high school, I got into a fight because I was getting picked on by a sophomore.
Yeah.
So I beat the shit out of him in front of like everybody. So
prison,
that was it.
Just like prison.
Pretty much. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back on it now, it's like, yeah.
I had a similar incident. Yeah.
That was it. Nobody fucked with me after that. I was fine. But I wasn't popular. I wasn't cool. I wasn't in any cliques. I had friends kind of in like all the pockets of whatever.
Yeah, it was the same way. Yeah.
But the first time I went to a party, I remember just kids coming up to me going, "You party?" Like, what?
Yeah.
Because I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do it, but I was just there to hang out.
We're so similar. I was
just there to hang out.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't do anything, but it was, "You party?"
Yeah.
I didn't know. What are you doing here? We know you partied. I'm like, I'm just here to hang out, man. I'm just here to have fun, hang out.
I'd be like, I'm here to fuck you up.
But I didn't drink, but everybody's, plastered or whatever. And I'm the only like sober one, but whatever. Anyway.
You had mentioned wearing a Metallica shirt. And I actually was telling Alex how when I was younger, I wanted to get a Metallica and Megadeth. I wanted their t-shirts so bad. And my mom wouldn't let me, because that's not what ladies wore. It was inappropriate. And so I would get so upset because my brother could get the shirts. So I'm like, oh, I want this Metallica shirt. And my mom's like, no. What about the Megadeth shirt? No. And I'd be so sad. And so I remember like thinking, when my brother kicked my ass if I stole his t-shirt to wear to school, and would I get caught wearing it and get in trouble with my parents, because I just wanted to wear their shirts because I liked the band so much. But like my mom's like, you can wear like Janis Joplin t-shirts and like Beatles.
Yeah, the music I like.
Exactly. Like my parents like the music. It's okay to wear the shirt, but can't fucking wear like an Injustice for All t-shirt. And Alex had mentioned how nowadays people will wear those kind of shirts like Metallica, Megadeth, and they don't even fucking know who the band is.
Oh, that's a big thing. So I know, like, people in their 20s and they're just like, oh, it's so lame. I wear a Metallica shirt and a dude in his 40s is like, name 5 songs. Like, you guys are so lame. I'm like, no, actually, you're fucking lame. Because I'm like, just think of it logically for 1 second. What's the purpose of a band shirt? It's to advertise the band. You're advertising something you don't know anything about. That's stupid.
That's lame.
You're dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, because back in the day it was like, you're a poser.
Yeah.
You know, and okay, that is kind of lame, especially like when you're in your 40s. But I bring it down to like just a fundamental logical level. You're advertising a product that you know nothing about.
Exactly.
You know, so you're dumb.
Pretty much.
Millennial. But speaking of the shirts, though, and again, this goes back to like how like not popular. We used to have to go into Boston to get Metallica shirts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was a place called Stairway to Heaven. You remember? It was in downtown Crossing.
Was that like in like you had to go downstairs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like this way to the Stairway to Heaven.
Yes.
And you went downstairs and it was in the basement, and they had metal everything there.
Yes, I remember that place.
And we used to have to go there. That's where I did my like back to school shopping. Like, you know,
awesome. That's awesome.
In like junior high and early high school. It's just like, all right, one Megadeth shirt, one Metallica shirt.
That's great.
I remember I used to get like my Chuck All-Stars from Service Merchandise.
Service Merchandise. I remember that place.
Because they were the cheapest there. So So like I would go there because they had them and they were cheap. And then all of a sudden, like one year, it was like they became fucking like $75 for a fucking pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to
Service Merchandise.
Service Merchandise. There's one in
Zayres,
Salem, New Hampshire.
Lechmere.
Lechmere Stewart's. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I remember that. The funny thing with the Metallica and like I was saying, my first impression when I saw like the patch on the jean jacket and then saw the shirts was that it was a satanic band just because of skulls. Have they ever had any lyrics even remotely considered satanic?
Phantom Lord, but no, that wasn't their deal.
Yeah.
They thought that shit was lame.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you go back to their history and watch the interview, I'm talking about the old interviews when they first got started in the early 80s in Frisco, they were already kind of making fun of like, you know, just the whole like fucking metal.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they were like, Satan, okay, whatever, you know, it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not doing that. We're just, you know, they were already almost apart from that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you have people who have no clue and they just look at them and they hear the music. They're not actually listening to the music. They're not listening to the lyrics.
Right.
They're just kind of taking it for what they perceive it to be and just want to lump it in as that because that makes them feel righteous or whatever, that they're judging and, oh, don't listen to that. It's not good. And
you know, I was hanging out with like diehard metalheads, you know, when I was like 14, 15. And then there was always like, Megadeth is better. I mean, I guess for a while you maybe could have made that argument. I mean, he released some pretty kick-ass, like Peace Sells is a phenomenal record. Like, you know,
yeah, it's good. I mean,
Rust in Peace
is great.
Yeah.
I liked Countdown to Extinction. Everything after that was kind of like,
that's when it gets dicey.
I like Euthanasia.
There'd be like a song or two on the albums that I liked, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But Metallica's been, besides Saint Anger.
Saint Anger.
But there's a reason why. Have you ever seen the documentary?
Yeah.
We just watched it last week.
It's tough to watch.
Yeah.
I respect them for putting that out, though.
I gotta say they got balls for putting it out.
Yeah.
But the whole time I'm like, wow, we're watching Metallica Therapy.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like,
this is kind of weird.
I'm fucking watching that. I was like, I could fucking help them with hypnotherapy and half the time for half the price. God damn it.
That's a great documentary, though.
Even
if you don't like Metallica,
it is. It is
fascinating.
It really is.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
like Frantic had grown on me.
Frantic. That and Saint Anger are the only two good songs on that album.
No, I think I told the story when we had your brother on. I bought the Some Kind of Monster DVD and Saint Anger CD at the same time because if I'm remembering correctly, they got released around the same time, right?
About yeah.
I got them at the same time, so I get in my car, I put the CD in, so I only listened to the first two songs by the time I got from Best Buy to my apartment.
Yeah,
I put in the Some Kind of Monster DVD and watch it, because I didn't know what it was, but I knew they were going to talk about why Newstead left.
Yeah, and
they were going to introduce the new bassist. So I'm like, all right, I got to watch this.
Yeah.
Then it turns into the therapy session, and I was just like, what the fuck? And again, this is like early 20s me going, what the fuck is this?
Right.
What happened to Metallica?
Yeah.
And Newstead's comment, this is wrong. We are the biggest band in the world.
We can't work
this out.
Yeah.
I think this is lame.
Yeah.
All the shit he was saying. I'm like,
yeah.
And I remember when we watched it the other day, I was having flashbacks like to the same thing.
Yeah.
And because of that, I never got past like the first 3 songs on that CD.
Right.
I've still never listened to it.
It's not good.
Never listened.
You're like, I refuse.
Yeah.
I only listened to Frantic, Saint Anger, and whatever the third song was. And to this day, the only ones I will listen to are Frantic and Saint Anger. And that's not all the time. Very
Were you traumatized by that?
Not traumatized, but it was almost like it just mentally left a
Do we need to work on this in our next session?
Sure. And I just never listened to anything else on that CD. But anyway,
the traumas of watching Some Kind of Monster.
You know, when you watch that documentary, and like I've read like interviews and stuff, and just like you got to remember, like this makes me feel like I've done nothing with my life. Like they got started when they were like 18. Yeah. Like Kill 'Em All came out when they were like 18, 19. You know, Ride the Lightning pretty much blew up when they were in their early 20s. They wrote Master of Puppets when they were like 24,
which is insane.
24. I couldn't tie my shoes when I was 24.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, I know.
I mean, they really are like musical geniuses, at least the core 3 guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they all just happen to come together. But the point being is like their emotional growth had been stunted because they had essentially been rock star. You know, it's like what happened with Britney Spears.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Jackson, you know,
sure.
But with them, they were a little more grounded because they came from that thrash.
Yeah.
You know, but still you could see that like they were just emotionally just adolescents.
Yeah.
In their 40s, which doesn't fly in your 40s anyway. Right. You know what I mean?
When you're married and have kids and everything else.
Take it from me. But the thing was like, that's so fucking lame. But you know what? That kept the band together, them getting that therapist. I love that they turn on him too.
That was awesome.
I'm watching it and I'm like, does that dude think he's in the band?
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
great.
How's this gonna turn out? Because like he's fucking like passing notes about like when they're
lyrics.
Lyrics and shit.
And that's when Hetfield's like, you're all done.
Yeah. That was
oh yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
40,000 a month they were paying this dude.
He'd work with like baseball teams and stuff like that. Like, you know, but some of the stuff he was saying was like, I mean, it was helpful.
Sure. But just like $40,000 a month. This is in 2003.
I know.
But if you okay, so I want to say though, when they talked about like not continuing with him, they're like, you know, we heard you were selling your house.
Yeah.
Like the way he reacted.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you could tell he was
that dude. Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
And you could tell like he was fucking pissed about it. And I was like, that's so fucking unprofessional.
Yeah.
Like you're not in the band.
That's what Lars said. I think if the client is saying, you know, fucking time out, I think it's fucking unprofessional that you want to fucking keep it going. I don't know. I'm not a therapist, but it seems weird, man.
So okay,
it's a great Lars.
So
good.
So today, like we're watching Metallica like live, and I'm just like, so I'm watching James Hetfield, and I'm like, he's a fucking Leo, like going off the zodiac, and I don't know when their birthdays are. Yeah. So I was like,
he is a Leo.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I bet Lars is a fucking Capricorn. And
is he?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because as time has gone on, it's become very clear that I am Lars and my buddy Fraser is Hetfield. I never really thought of that until recently. I think I used to really relate more to Hetfield, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, I'm Lars. I'm just a douchey, smart guy who's just really wants things his way.
All right.
I mean,
you're tolerable. I don't know Lars personally.
Oh, I love Lars. I kind of just funny. Got it. He's hilarious.
Yeah, I think he's funny.
Yeah,
no, it's just funny because I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, like with his personality, I would either get along very well with him or I wouldn't be able to stand him.
The thing is everyone thinks that like the heart and soul of Metallica is like Hetfield, which I understand. But if everyone who actually knows them, and I think Hetfield even admits it, it's really Lars. I mean, you know, everyone says, you know, you may hate Lars, but no Lars, no Metallica. He hustled.
No, he's a hard worker.
Yeah. He hustled. Like he sat in. He used to hang out of Motorhead when they were recording Another Perfect Day of the studios, and he would just keep bugging Lemmy, and he'd be like, "Can I sit in?" He's like, "I'm just gonna sit there. I will not say a word. I just want to watch you guys record an album." He was like 15, you know.
It's awesome.
And he was just like, "Oh, yeah, all right, man," and he did. And he just sat there and he just watched how the process worked. You know, he's the one who got them signed to Kill 'Em All. You know,
that's so awesome.
He's the business guy. You know, he did all that, you know, and he's a pretty decent drummer.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's
I love his
okay.
drumming.
I mean,
I think
he's pretty good.
I think he's awesome.
Musicians always say that he's not good live. I don't hear it because I'm not a musician. I've heard multiple drummers say like he's terrible live.
I like his drumming, but he definitely, as far as like keeping time,
not good, right?
No, he's all over the place.
Yes, right.
But it's live, so who cares? That's what I say. It's live, so who gives a shit?
But as has been explained to me, like he's the perfect drummer for Hetfield. Like his drums really complement what's going on with the guitars. And again, I'm not a musician, but that's how it's been explained to me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I kind of feel like Lars and James are kind of like the figure eight. Yin and yang. Yeah, like they balance each other.
Oh, they're the McCartney and who's the other guy? Lennon of metal.
For sure.
They're the Richards and Jagger of metal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean because they're the main songwriters.
Yeah.
When you look at it's always Hetfield.
It's always those guys.
Yeah. They do everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy. And you know what's interesting too, just going back to Some Kind of Monster real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You can really see the difference between Hetfield being just like this red-blooded American and Lars coming from Denmark and Europe, because the band is all like fractured, and you hear Hetfield just like, dude, it's all about me right now. I need time to myself. I need to work on this shit. I need to go to rehab. And Lars keeps saying, it's about the fucking collective. We need to vote on this as a group, and then you have Kirk. He's almost like the Eastern influence, even though he's American, but he's half Filipino.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, hey man, peace. Things are going to work itself out.
Yep.
So it's just like, you got this Western, European, and Eastern influences all in this band. I
know, watching that the whole time, it's like, poor fucking Kirk. He's just like,
he's such a sweet guy.
I know.
Yeah.
He's a Scorpio, but
okay.
What did you think when Newsted left the band?
I think that was a massive mistake, because he thought the direction of the band wasn't going, like they're not metal enough. If he had just stuck it out, Hetfield would have gone to rehab, realized he was an asshole, apologized to him, and it would have been all set.
Yep.
Because the album that came after Saint Anger, which is one of my favorite albums, Death
Magnetic.
That's what Newsted wanted to make. The first time I heard Death Magnetic, I'm like, dude, you should have just stayed with the band. They did what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, because I like Robert Trujillo, but I loved Newsted.
I loved Newsted too.
Too.
Yeah, I loved Newsted. Obviously, Cliff, by the time I got into Metallica, Cliff Burton had already passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, his bass playing is fucking nuts.
Here's the thing. Again, I'm not a musician, but I listen to that podcast and they have a lot of musicians on, and they really, because when someone dies young like that, a musician, they tend to be, memorialized, idolized in a way. But every musician I've ever heard, they're just like, no, that guy really was on another fucking level, just anesthesia pulling teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And talk about selling out. Like Flea said this when he inducted them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's like, anyone who thinks Metallica is like selling out, putting a 5-minute bass solo on your album is not the key to mainstream success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember one of my favorite quotes growing up was Newsted when he was interviewed. I can't remember by who. When he was answering the sellout comment. He's like, people call us sellout.
Oh yeah,
we do sell out every time we play.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that is
awesome. But I always loved that guy, like being in the band, just because like he to me, like him headbanging when he had the long hair and everything, and just like he'd always have that like mean face that he'd put on. It's like, that guy's a fucking badass.
Right. Yeah.
And when you'd hear him in interviews, he was always just like cool,
Yeah.
So when he left, I'm like, oh man, what the fuck happened there?
Right.
That's why I couldn't wait to get home to get that movie and that DVD and see what happened, because it was just kind of like,
and what Hetfield was doing was bullshit. Like, you can't play with anyone else.
Yeah.
Even though we're on hiatus.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
But he did.
Yep.
Hetfield was playing on other people's albums and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think he would have gone to rehab, realized he was in the wrong. But yeah, it was just unfortunate.
But I mean, if you're he's talking about having abandonment issues and that kind of shit, like, because you're not going to abandon yourself. You're not going to abandon your band. Like, you're not going to do it. But if you don't know that this other person, like, how do I know they won't do that? Like, I get it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I can get that mentality from someone who's gone through a trauma.
Well, that's the other thing. The more you learn about Hetfield's life, man, that guy's been through some serious shit.
See, I don't know a lot about.
Oh yeah, like no, his dad just did such a Gen X thing. Like his dad just took off.
His dad was in some kind of monster, right?
No, he's dead. He's in the year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, no, he just took off, and he just left the family, and then his mother died of cancer when he was like 12 or something, 13. And he was raised by his older brother. Mm-hmm. And then the whole Cliff thing, because him and Cliff were really tight. Yeah. He almost looked up to him like a big brother, Cliff. Cliff was older, a couple of years older than the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
That whole aspect of their story too, that bus accident. I know they've talked about it in interviews, but there's a book called Back to the Front. It's all about the making of Master of Puppets and then the subsequent tour.
I wanted to get that book.
It's so good. Oh my God, it's so good.
Okay.
But they really get into the details of it that I'd never heard. Dude, that crash was like horrific. Wow. Like it was really bad. Like they could see his legs.
Jesus.
Like under the bus. And there was a part where like they were getting the people out and it was dark, they couldn't see shit. And the guy was there was the last guy in the bus, and everyone on the outside knew Cliff was dead because they saw the legs and they're pulling him. And the guy was just like, hey, wait a minute. He's just like, I can see Cliff's hand. Like I can get Cliff. And the guy up top was just like, he just goes, don't worry about Cliff. Fuck. And yeah.
That's just nuts.
I know. I mean, yeah. I mean, to, see your best friend just get fucking wiped out like that. Like, it's going to fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
And they just plowed on,
Yeah.
They barely took any time off.
That's the amazing thing with them too. Like by the time the Black Album came out, they'd already put out 4 albums.
Yep.
Been touring nonstop.
Yep.
Do you think they did that though for necessity? Like we have to keep going. Like if we stop, we'll lose what we have.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, and plus they were young, dumb, and full of cum, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
And they talk about, they just drank themselves into oblivion. I mean, that's when the
Alcoholica.
Yeah. That's when that really got ramped up, was after that.
Yeah.
And that's it. Kirk talking about the night that happened. He woke up in the middle of the night and he just heard Hetfield outside the hotel just screaming Cliff. He was like screaming at Cliff's name at the top of his lungs, just bashing the shit out of stuff. He had to be sedated. Like they literally had to like tranquilize him and bring him to the hospital. Wow. Which I understand.
I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But yeah, and they also knew, they're just like, Cliff would absolutely 1,000% want us to go on. And Cliff's parents were just like, yes, keep going.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like every time like Newstead would do interviews, he'd talk about becoming close with Cliff's parents.
Yeah.
Cliff's parents giving him their blessing.
Yeah.
Like they were involved in the bass selection, the bass player selection process and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just everything that they've done has just been so fucking cool.
Their story is
like,
incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you don't like them, their story is just incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just crazy. Like when I heard that they got Cliff's parents to be in on the bass player selection, I'm like, wow, like that's just fucking cool.
They interviewed Ray Burton on Metal Up Your Podcast. It was like the last interview he did before he died. Yeah, he lived to be like 90. He was just like this old, just chill hippie dude, which kind of makes sense,
Yeah. I saw him when they got inducted into the Hall of Fame and he got
Yeah.
I thought that was cool that they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing, I guess the next thing, Metallica has at times made it not easy to be a Metallica fan. Like, the whole load thing, but because I was like, I remember when we got that album, Fraser put it into the CD player. He listened to the first 2 songs, just took it and just whipped it at me. He's like, you can listen to that shit if you want. I think he's come around to it since, but I listened to it and I'm like, but I noticed I kept getting the song stuck in my head.
Grew on me.
Yeah, it totally, sure. It was a slow thing and I was like,
definitely.
And then finally I was like, I just embraced it.
Yep.
I was like, it's good.
Same here.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite albums. But the other thing too, that makes it not easy was the Napster thing.
I was going to ask you about Napster.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the whole thing from Napster?
Again, I was in the minority. Now, just to put it in perspective, I was working at the Boston Phoenix at the time, which was a heavily leftist newspaper, but it didn't really matter then because you didn't talk about politics because nobody cared. Imagine that, young people. But I remember everyone in the office was just like, fuck those fucking guys. What, you know what the fuck? They're not fucking wealthy enough. And Lars has talked about this. He's like, Napster was good with their PR because they were just like, it's money, money. They want money, money, money. And they're like, it wasn't about money for us. Like, you're right. We're rich. We got plenty. It's about that. We've made this. This is ours. And we want to say how it's distributed.
Yeah.
You know, and we're also looking out for the guys underneath us coming up, because they're the ones that are going to get fucked. You can get t-shirts now in 2021 that say Lars was right.
Yeah.
Because he was
right.
Yeah.
And at the time when everybody was shitting on them, I'm like,
yep.
But are you listening to him? Because he's actually right.
Yeah. Yes.
So I was with you on that. I was
you were in the minority.
Yeah. Because everybody was like, well, it's fucking rich rock stars, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you think they're gonna make money?
Right.
How are they gonna keep putting music out?
Right.
And like Lars said, we're looking out for the guys behind us.
Right.
Yeah. How's anybody going to become a successful musician and make money if you're just getting it, all for free?
Right.
How's that happen?
Yeah. And, Hetfield would just make these really cogent arguments. You just like, if you make a chair, you get to say how that chair is sold, or if you want to give it away for free, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, we created it. It's our property.
Exactly.
And exactly. He was right.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's just like, well, they don't make their money on albums anyway. It's just like, right. But the albums make the tour happen.
Exactly.
It was, you sell the albums, you get on the radio, you go on tour.
Right.
It was the minimal part of the process, but it was it was one of the table legs. If you knock that out, look at the music industry now. Lars was right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big Napster user because I like tangible things. So I wanted to go buy the cassette tape or the CD. And I think by that point it was CDs. But I kind of felt like, well, I also didn't look at it like the grand scale of what it was because I didn't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
But I was like, if I have an album, if I buy a CD and I want to fucking record it on a tape for somebody and give it to a friend, oh yeah, I fucking got it. Like, what's the difference? So I get those points. But I also wasn't like using Napster. I wasn't immersed in it. I was like going to punk rock shows and fucking supporting the bands. And
yeah, right.
So I kind of didn't give a shit, but I was just like, whatever.
So it didn't really affect you.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never used Napster.
Oh,
or
I
anything
did.
Like that.
Oh, I was talking out of both sides of my mouth. But on the other hand, I was like, Metallica's right. But I was working at the Phoenix, and at the time they had like a T4 connect, super fast internet connection.
Okay, yep.
So I was just and I had a zip drive. Remember the zip drive? Those old school. Yeah. And I used to just download songs all fucking day. But they were all songs that just like, I like the song, but I wouldn't pay for it.
Wouldn't pay for it, right?
That's what, like, I was just like, oh, what was that American Pie song? All right, whatever.
Yeah, I remember my brother, my younger brother, my brother's 4 years younger than me. He had Napster, and he was at the time we were living together, and he got like all his music from that. But it was the same thing. It was stuff he wouldn't go pay for.
Right.
If he liked a band or he liked he was into like hip hop and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he
would go buy the CD. It was all, like you said, stuff you wouldn't go pay for that you would get on Napster.
Right.
That's what he did. I never got into it at all.
Yeah.
But see, I didn't trust any digital music. We were, when we got together, that was what, 13 years ago? 12, 13 years ago?
Sure. A while ago.
I didn't have an iPod. Everyone had an iPod. And I was like, I have a Walkman at home.
Oh, I got to say, when I first saw the iPod, I was just fascinated. Like, you could put all your music on that. I have two of them.
Yeah.
I got the 80 gig one, and then I got the next one up, the 160 gig one.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, I can put more music on this. Awesome.
Oh, ripping my CDs. That took weeks.
Oh
yeah.
That took weeks.
I'll just make a mixtape.
Yep.
I'm so like, nope, I want the tangible thing. I mean, you got one for me. And I remember thinking like, I don't fucking want this.
Well, the iPod was good for like driving, walking, rather than those goddamn cases of CDs for your car.
Yep.
I was happy to be rid of those.
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
I still have them all. I have all my CDs.
Get the visors, you pull it down and pull out your CD.
Yeah.
The best were the cars that like had the cassette player that like would fast forward and rewind, and it could tell where the song began and stopped.
Those are fancy.
That was technology. So I'm like, I just want to go back. Like, how many songs? Okay. And you could keep track instead of having to stop and play and wait for it. stop. Oh, nope. Got to go back a little bit more. I went too far. Like they would just automatically stop and it was the best.
But
it's the little things in life.
Yeah.
Okay.
The little pleasures.
But yeah, Metallica rules.
They do.
Yeah, Metallica.
I love that they're still going.
Yeah.
And their music is still great.
It's awesome.
Their last album was great.
Yeah.
You know, they're still fucking kicking ass live. They're in their late 50s now.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, they were on tour when COVID, you know, the shutdowns. And you know what they did? They're like, fuck it, let's make an album. So I think it's coming out this year.
Is it coming out this year?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I'm pretty sure.
That's
if
awesome.
not early 2022.
Did any other bands aside from Metallica ever play Antarctica? Or was it only Metallica?
No, they're the only band ever that's played all the continents on the
great.
planet.
That's so awesome.
Did you ever see that? The video of it?
I never saw it. No.
They had to wear in the audience that again, they're good to their fan club members. They picked like 100, you know, and they're in like a geodome thing.
Okay.
Because the thing is like the sound can like literally make the ice crack and like the penguins would get scared.
Allegedly.
Yeah, you know.
Right.
No, I imagine like big booming sounds could crack ice, you know, because
I'm
it's like
sure.
fragile.
If
Down
that's what
there.
it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure penguins would get freaked out. So the point is that even the audience had to put in headphones.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they're rocking out. And they didn't play Trapped Under Ice, which seems like a big misstep.
Yeah. Whoa. What?
The underrated deep track from Ride the Lightning.
Yes.
But yeah, no, the reason they did that, like you said, because they are now the only band that's played all 7 continents of the planet.
I'm waiting for them to play on the moon.
Yeah, I mean that would be the next step.
That's the next thing.
Aerosmith wanted to go up and be the first band to play in space. They wanted to go up in the space shuttle. I think with Elon Musk, Metallica will probably be the first to do that too.
I'm sure
It'll be fake, just like the moon landing.
They'll film that on a soundstage somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere in California. So Gorman.
Yeah.
Top 5 favorite Metallica songs.
Okay. 1, Harvester of Sorrow. I love that song. Yeah, I like that it was the song back in the day that like the real Metallica fans knew. They always played it. It was never a hit, it was never a radio single or anything like that. But it was just like it's got that groove. The lyrics are just so good. Probably Blackened. I mean, that song
I love
just
Blackened.
makes me want to drive into a fucking tree.
Yeah, I love
it's such a
Blackened.
good opener too.
It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I guess that I love Bells, you know, especially live, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really, there's a song on the new album, Halo on Fire.
That's a good song.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to pick 5, but I guess the ones I just named. Creeping Death.
I don't know if I hate lists like that. I can't do favorites. I can't.
I was gonna cheat and like just name some of the albums.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. For me and Justice, because it was the first CD that I ever heard from them, the first time that I got into them.
Yeah,
that's always gonna have a special place. But
Unforgiven
I
is.
don't know. I love Unforgiven. That's a great
shit
song.
is playing right now on the TV. I just noticed.
And that Kirk solo.
That's one of the greatest solos
man.
in rock history.
So good. So good.
It really is considered one of the greatest solos in rock history.
I know, which is it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's deserved.
Do you remember Bob Rock like yelling at him?
Yeah, because we just watched a year and a half last week.
Dude, a year and a half in the life
So
of Metallica. It's like you literally put me in a TARDIS or the DeLorean and I am fucking right back to the early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the footage in that, it's
Yeah.
like you're there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's exactly how I remember the early 90s, how people
Yep.
dressed,
Yeah.
talked, the radio, the
Everything.
MTV. Yeah.
Yep.
It
Yep.
really transports you back to that time.
Yeah. And Bob Rock just going at Kurt for that
Pushing
guitar
them.
solo,
Yeah.
really egging him on.
Oh,
And
and they play Russia after the wall fell.
Mhm.
And the fucking helicopter and shit is flying around, and the freaking the former, Stasi are beating the shit out of the kid.
Shit out of kids. And
Yeah.
then I guess by the end of the show, the Stasi like laid off and were like kind of
They
like
were rocking
jamming
out
and
too. Yeah.
too.
Talk about a cultural moment.
Music,
Yeah.
the great unifier.
It
Yeah.
really was.
Fucking A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing that footage on like MTV News or whatever
Yeah.
when it happened.
It was a
and just
big
be like,
deal.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big deal. Like the podcast I did, it was like, did rock music die in 1991? And I don't remember rock music being that big since.
I don't know.
Between them, Guns N' Roses, and Nirvana obviously was just right around the corner.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The only band that I kind of got into, and I never got into them as much as Metallica. After I got into Metallica, was other end of the spectrum was Green Day.
Oh yeah,
which was like, pop punk,
right?
And even them, I mean, like I can't stand them now. Like they piss me off, like ridiculously. But and I got into them for like a short time. But other than that, there was no real music that I got into.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I stopped listening to the radio at that point. MTV stopped playing music, stopped playing music videos. So I stopped watching MTV. So I didn't really know what was coming out.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care. Like Korn, I never got into Korn.
I like Korn.
Never cared about them.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. Like when Godsmack became a thing, I'd heard of them, but didn't really know any of their songs. Didn't care.
It wasn't until I saw them live. I'm like,
I didn't really care about any other music since Metallica and, like I said, Green Day for a short time, and that was it.
When I worked in veterinary medicine, I would get some shifts. I'd work like 11 to 3 or I'd work 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. or 4 p.m. till midnight. But working in veterinary medicine in an emergency hospital, it was like sometimes you have to stay. So some nights I get home like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2, 3 in the morning. But I get home and there's nothing on TV. I'm still kind of wired from the emergencies happening in the night.
Sure.
Have something to eat. And MTV was actually playing music in the middle of the night, like in the early 2000s. And so, like early to mid 2000s. And so I forget what show it was, but like they would play, like, it was like a show where they played music like nobody really knew about, like to try to
120 minutes or something.
No, it wasn't 120 minutes. It was something else. But I'm watching and there's this band, El Pus. And I was like, they play the song, a video, Suburb Thugging. And it's like punk, punk rock and rap. But it was awesome. And it was different. And it was really cool. I'm like, these guys are fucking awesome. So I remember going to Newberry Comics and I was like, oh, I hope they have them. And I found the album. And I got it. And like every song on that is just so unique and awesome. But that was one of the things I was just thinking about, like finding music on MTV, kind of like how I discovered Metallica from the one video on MTV. I actually found like a really cool band and I saw them at the Hampton Beach Casino. They opened for Real Big Fish. And I ended up like hanging out with them because
you told the story.
Yeah, in the back parking lot, the dude was trying to get me to like go work for the band, and basically you hire pretty girls to promote the band.
Be their road whore.
Well, yeah, I said no. Flattered, thank you.
Be their groupie.
Yeah, no.
Traveling groupie.
I was like, dude, I just want to fucking get in the pit and fuck shit up, But
all right,
I'm not your typical like girl.
No kidding. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, what rock band post Metallica could sell out a football stadium easily?
Post Metallica,
I don't.
Maybe Foo Fighters. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe, but I that's another band.
That's a big maybe though.
But yeah, it's a maybe. Yeah.
I mean, Metallica is just like we're playing Gillette. It's sold out.
Yeah, it's done.
But there's other bands that can do that, but they all came before Metallica. Like the Stones can do that. AC/DC can do that.
But after them.
Yeah.
But after them, I just don't. Guns. But again, that's pre-Metallica.
Yeah. So no, I can't think of any.
No.
But I also don't listen to the radio.
But that's the thing. I don't either. So I don't know.
But nobody does.
Right. Well, he's right. Yeah, that's true. Nobody does. You're right. Now, how do people get music now? It's all social media.
YouTube.
Sharing. YouTube. Yeah,
because
YouTube too.
I know a bunch of people. They have like teenagers now. It's just fucking weird. Like, but they have teenagers, and I asked them. I'm like, and they're just like, oh, it's all YouTube. Like, yes, they like Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Billie Eilish.
For a second, I was like, who the fuck is Taylor Swift? It took a moment for my brain to like process.
The fella over here with the hella good hair.
I know who she is. Couldn't tell you any songs.
Yeah. Oh, really?
But I've heard.
Shake It Off.
No idea.
Billie Eilish is definitely that. Billie Eilish is, kids love her.
I've heard of her, but I don't know who she
is. I guess Karen, I'm sure she is a good musician, but I was just like, okay, I'm going to be, let's get involved in this, and I put it on, and it was the very first time. And listen, I made it to my 40s before I felt this way. I'm like, I'm old because I'm like, I do not get this. I don't get this music. Like, like it'd start rock, it would rock, and then it would just get like super, it would almost be like a different song within the song. It'd be like a hard rock, and then it'd just be like piano for another minute and go back into like it. I'm like, I just don't. I'm like, it was going good there for a minute, and then it's like getting a hand job, and the girl stops. That's the analogy.
I'm gonna go get a snack. I'll be back.
I love those analogies. They work.
Yeah, but and that's the other thing too, is like, you're talking about they didn't play music on MTV. There's a great book I recommend. It's called I Want My MTV. It's an oral history of MTV. It's 700 pages long. I think I read it in 2 days.
Holy shit.
But it's not difficult. It's just interviews with people from like the president of MTV to the, music video directors to James Hetfield. Like it.
Dude,
David
when you
Lee
say
Roth.
700 pages, I say, holy shit. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Holy
It was awesome.
Because I like books that are thick, because I know I'm going to fucking get a good
You like thick.
But they asked, they're just like, so the big question, why did you guys stop playing music videos? And the programming director was like, oh, that's easy, because people stopped watching them. As you got into the early 2000s, he's like, the ratings for Real World and all that stuff were through the roof. The music video shows were just down. Millennials were just not into music videos. They just didn't care about them.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Because everyone's just like, well, what the hell? Why, just like people stop watching them. Believe me, they're like, we're going to play what people want to see.
Of course.
People didn't want to see videos anymore. It's that simple. It's weird.
It is kind of,
because the art of the music video.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. How, I mean,
Unforgiven. I remember where I was when that debuted. I remember being psyched the whole day at school to go home and watch that.
Yes. And they would announce like the world premiere of the
world
video.
Premiere. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
And just think about November Rain. I think probably the greatest music video ever made.
Yeah.
Yes. That was
I know Thriller, but
Thriller 2. Yeah. Thriller was one up there. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You have
smashing into the cake.
You could have like mini movies.
Which is what November Rain is.
Yeah. It's just insane.
But it's also a chance for the artist to kind of like tell their story visually.
Yeah.
Whether it's what the song represents or something totally different. And it was cool because like there were so many amazing music videos that came out. And like, I said before, that was something you're watching it and they're showing from like a movie from like 1970 or 71 about this dude who
great movie, by the way.
Yeah. And he can't see, he can't talk, he can't hear. Like
that's what Hetfield wrote the lyrics about.
Yeah. He's stuck in this bed. And it's like, it just like watching the video was so much more impactful.
Yeah.
Because it's like, fuck. And oh my God, it's playing right now.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
But like you listen to it, but then you watch the video. And it like really fucking hits you, like seeing it.
Oh, that last part where he's just like SOS, and you,
yeah,
it's like
what is he saying? Yeah. He's saying "kill me" over and over again. Kill me.
Yeah, it's intense.
It is. I just got chills too.
Yeah, we're so weird. I did. I totally got.
I did too. I just got them.
In that book, the I Want My MTV, they talk about the one video about how Metallica they were so resistant against videos. And guess who wanted to do one and who didn't? Lars was all gung-ho.
Of course.
Yeah. Hetfield was dead set against it. And it was the lady from MTV went to the shoot where they shot that. And she goes, Hetfield came in. He was just pissed off, drunk. And, on his guitar, he'd usually write more beer or eat fuck or whatever.
Yeah.
He just had fuck you. And the lady at MTV was just like, someone needs to tell him he needs to take that off his guitar. And I'm not going to be the one to do it. But he finally was like, fuck it. But, he eventually opened up. It's just like, it's just a new way to reach more people. And clearly it did.
Oh, it fucking
the
worked
three of
for
us
them.
right here.
Yep.
Yeah. But I feel Hetfield on that because I'm always like, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. Fuck that. You're all making music videos. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like I'm always like, I always resist what everyone else is doing. And I feel like I have to like go against it because I don't know. That's how I am. So I get that. And he probably looks at it like, what the fuck? But I guess Lars was right, because you have 7-year-olds.
Thank you.
Because you have 7-year-old me.
Tremendous.
That's how I discovered Metallica.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
A 7-year-old girl would not have discovered Metallica any other way than MTV at that point.
I think the selling out thing is like if you specifically change your sound to like if the record company tells you to change your sound,
change your sound, to change your style, to change who you are.
Yeah. It's interesting, like because Dokken, the band Dokken.
Yeah. Never got into them.
Like, the band was just like, we got to glam up, but their management was just like, no, you're doing fine. You don't need. But the band was like, no, we need to do this, and it kind of like it fucked them up.
Yeah, blew up in their face.
Because now they're like, just painted in that hair metal genre.
Yeah.
And Metallica never did that.
Yeah, they never did it.
Except for Load when it was the opposite.
Yeah.
They glammed out when everyone else was stripped down.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another good punk rock Metallica. They were playing the MTV Video Music Awards, but in Brazil.
Okay.
And and so they were supposed to play King Nothing. It was Load.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to do King Nothing and Until It Sleeps. Those are 2 songs. And so they're backstage, are all set, and they're like, hey, we got to cut you. It's only going to be 1 song. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll do King Nothing. And they had like, whatever, 10 minutes. So like, it's going to be 8 minutes. And they're like, okay. And then they're like, it's going to be like 7. And they're like, okay, all right. So time for them to go out. Hetfield gets to the microphone. So fucking what? And they just played So What? And they just immediately cut to commercial. Well, not immediately, but they got a good minute of the song in. I mean, the lyrics of that song, fuck this, fuck that, everything.
Yeah.
They cut away. They just played So What?
That's awesome. That's like a 2-minute song.
Yeah,
too.
right. And they
go big or go home.
They got backstage and like, you will never play on MTV Brazil ever again. And they're like, we don't care. Fuck you. Bye.
I love it.
Punk as fuck.
That's rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the whole sellout thing, they're doing what they want. And I think that, they've had the same management team pretty much since Ride the Light.
Q Prime, right?
Q Prime, these 2 guys, Peter Mensch and the other guy's name, I can't remember.
I know you're talking about Bernstein.
Yeah. The guy looks like a hippie.
Yeah.
And anyway, they've pretty much been like, just keep doing what you're doing. You guys are successful.
Yeah.
Just do it. And they have the freedom. That's why they made that shitty album with Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Do
whatever they want.
Yeah. Fuck it. We're just going to do this now. Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't sell. Fuck it. But they can. They have fuck you money. They can do whatever they want. Exactly. They're not sellouts. They're beyond. They got Oprah money.
Yeah.
They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And they do.
And they do.
Have you been listening to their podcast that they put out? The Metallica podcast?
No.
I've been listening to it, and the one that just came out today, I think it was episode 8 or 9. I can't remember now, but they get basically like the band members, but they have like journalists, people that have worked with them over the years, and they give like little snippets of interviews. And I can't remember the guy's name, but I think he was like a record executive or something like that. And he was saying, like, his little snippet was, Metallica is the kind of music that you listen to and then you never stop listening to it.
Yeah.
You're just always going to listen to it.
Right.
It's not like one of those bands that has songs that kind of come and go.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll go back to them in a couple of years or whatever. You go through your Metallica, you listen to them, you never stop.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that is so right on.
Yeah.
Because that's a band that no matter what, ever since I started listening to them, I consistently listened to them.
I stuck with them the whole time.
Never
I have
stopped.
to say, I was a little worried when Death Magnetic came out because I was like, okay, how's it going to be? Is it going to?
Because of Saint Anger, right?
And I feel like every album.
Justifiable.
Yeah.
But like every album, it's like, is it going to live up to your hopes of what you want from that band? And I remember hearing All Nightmare Long, and I was like,
oh, that song is fucking great.
I fucking love that song. And I remember, so we would go to the gym, and I've talked about it before, being on the treadmill. I fucking hate running. Like, I do not run. Jason Voorhees could be chasing me in the woods. I'll be like, fuck it. I'm just going to fight. I'm going to climb a tree because I don't run. And I was trying to find ways to motivate myself to run on the treadmill.
That'll do it.
All Nightmare Long on repeat, like for as long. And that's a long fucking song. And I remember at first, I couldn't even I was like dying before I get to the end of the song. And I'm like, I gotta make it through the fucking song. You can do this. You can do this. You can get to the end of the song. And I was like, that was my goal, to stay on the treadmill, fucking pounding at it until the end of the song. And then it was like, okay, I'm here now.
Yeah.
Now, how much for, like, can I do it twice? Can I double the time? and you know, I use that song as like motivation for me.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I had high hope for Death
Alex
Magnetic
is like, you're fucking pathetic.
They brought in Rick Rubin as the producer.
Yeah, that was kind of like I didn't know what to think of that when I heard that it was happening,
because they knew Saint Anger was not great.
Yeah,
and you know, Bob Rock was getting a little too probably complacent, like just saying, okay,
yeah,
they needed something, because you know what Rubin did when he first, like the first day, he's just like, all right, I want you to listen to some albums, give you some ideas and inspiration, and he handed them their first 4 albums. Chill 'Em All the Justice. He's like, this band was really fucking good, so do that.
That's fucking great.
They're like, okay,
that's fantastic. And look what came out.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's wow. That's funny. That's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always wondered about like what the fuck were they thinking with Saint Anger? Like,
well, the band was in turmoil.
Yeah, so it obviously reflected in the music.
Yeah,
and they even said they decided to go in, instead of writing their songs and then coming to the studio.
Yeah,
they decided, we're going to just do
Jam.
this together.
Yeah.
We're going to write together.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Hetfield Ulrich writing that worked.
Yeah.
So just you got to figure out that this works. Just do it.
Just stick with it.
Yeah. I respect him for trying different shit.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You have to experiment, you know, try it out.
Hetfield has a this is like a great quote, maybe a good quote to end on, but he has this great quote. And I remember I heard this when I was like a teenager, and it stuck with me ever since. But he has this quote when it comes to just life and music. It's just like, live to win, dare to fail. And I'm like, fuck yeah.
That's
Fuck
that's
yeah.
the Hetfield way.
That's fantastic.
Live to win, dare to fail.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to be.
Yeah.
Fucking A. So on that note, I guess we'll
Yeah,
Let's
thank you,
just-
Sean.
let's
This was
just
a
end
good
it there.
time. Yeah.
Sean, thank
I
you,
don't think
man.
you're going to
Joining
top
us.
that.
No.
Go listen to some Metallica, you pussies.
Yes. Just go listen to Metallica.
Yes.
Start at Kill 'Em All. And
then just work your way up from there.
Blast your face off.
Because there's nothing bad. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.